Welcome to the Art of Classiness podcast, a show where we redefine what it means to be a classy lady. And sometimes it's messy. I'm Robin.
And I'm Deborah, two friends turned classy ladies who are here to discuss life's ups and downs, navigating the complexities of adulthood, and how the gift of friendship is essential to belonging.
Today we're diving into the world of attachment styles, but through the lens of friendship. You've probably heard about anxious and avoidant types in dating, but those same patterns show up in our platonic relationships too.
We'll break down each style, how they impact your group chats, how we misunderstand each other, and why that one friend might always be spiraling while the other disappears for weeks.
This one's equal parts therapy and tea, so follow along, give us your feedback, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
What's up, classy ladies and gentlemen? Robin, what's up? How we doing? Let's check in.
I'm doing pretty well. I last week was on a juice cleanse and wrapped that up, and my acne actually is looking a lot better.
Hey.
So hopefully it continues on that path. We're also going to Portland this weekend, so I'll be eating out a lot. We'll see how I react to that. But yeah, looking forward to a little mini road trip.
Great. How far away is Portland from Bend?
About 3 hours, a little over 3 hours.
Okay. Well, exciting.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I'm getting reacclimated to a normal routine. The month of July has been very chaotic and just there has been no routine in July. We've gone on 2 trips. We went to Myrtle Beach. Last week I visited my parents in Michigan, and then we made a very quick trip to Toronto, which I don't recall being as far away from my hometown as it was. We went on Friday, and it took us 6 hours door to door to get there, which I was like 3 hours, 45 minutes tops. Like that's what I remember from doing it 20 years ago. Obviously, a lot has changed since then. So it was a very, it was a lot of driving for a short period of time there. I really wish we had more time, but we had a great host who planned all of our adventures and trips and restaurants. So that was really great. The kids had an awesome time, but it was just a lot of driving because came back to my parents' house and then drove all the way back to Ohio. And it really took until like yesterday that I felt like I was back in my home, like organized, suitcase put away, trying to get back into the workout, eating at home routine, So I am at the point in summer where I'm done. I'm good. I'm done. I've summered. I've had the things. The kids have had a good time. I'm ready for fall. To me, fall, it just is a productivity time. The kids are back in school. I have more focus. I love the fall in Ohio. It's really the only reason to live here is the fall. It's like the nicest time of year. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm ready. Let's just fast forward to September. I don't need August. I'm good.
Oh, it sounds like you had a nice little summer vacay times 2.
Times 2 summer vacay. Very grateful for this summer and just ready to finish the year strong.
Finish the year strong. We're in July.
I know. I'm fucking ready. Wrap it up, 2025. I've seen all you can possibly give me. I know how this fucking story is going to end. I'm ready for a new year.
And what's going to happen in the new year?
Hopefully I'll make some fucking money. Hopefully good news happens to me one time ever.
But that could still happen this year too.
Good. You're right.
All right. Let's transition to our classy combo.
That's right. In today's episode, we are unpacking attachment theory, aka the psychology behind why we love the way we do, or why we reject people the way that we do. And a lot of times this theory is attributed almost solely to romantic relationships, but today we're going to be flipping it towards friendship. Because let's face it, you're going to have way more good friends in your life than you will have great loves.
So true.
It's so true. We always sleep on that. We're always talking about your next boyfriend who you're going to marry, and we're disregarding the people who are in your lives every single day. So whether you are always texting first, dodging emotional conversations, or suddenly realizing you trauma bonded at brunch, guilty, your attachment style might explain more than you think. So yeah, this is a very interesting topic to me and one that is relatively new. Like I always heard about attachment theory, but never really did a lot of due diligence and researching my own attachment styles. And I think the reason why explains my attachment style, like why I was hesitant to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's your background with attachment theory?
Well, I would argue that, of all the different kinds of personality styles, the Enneagram, the Myers-Briggs, I think attachment styles is one of the most important theories to focus on. It's like if you feel confused about which one to pick, I would start here because these styles shape how we handle conflict, how we seek support, and maintain emotional closeness across various social contexts. It applies to all the types of relationships, your work relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, relationships with your family.
Mm-hmm.
It applies to everything. It affects everything.
Yeah.
So when I discovered attachment styles, it blew my mind because I know I am an anxious attachment and it explained so much.
Yeah.
As to why I am the way that I am. And I also want to lead with these are not fixed styles. Nothing is fixed. You can change. It can change over time naturally, or if you're putting in the work, you can see that change over time. And oftentimes it can change based on your relationship with whoever it is that you're communicating with. So it's very nuanced, but it's also extremely interesting. And I'm so excited to talk about it today.
Well, if you have no idea what we're talking about, attachment theory was first developed by a British psychologist named John Bowlby. Bowlby, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering that last name. Bowlby? John Bowlby. And he explains how early relationships with caregivers shape a person's expectations and behaviors in future relationships. It emphasizes the importance of emotional bonds in human development and how these early attachments influence emotional regulation and connection throughout life. So yeah, that's essentially an overarching explanation of the theory. And Robin and I just want to point out, we are not experts on any of this. So
No.
We're just here to give anecdotal advice and share our experiences and maybe, inform you high level of what the types of attachment styles are and how they can play out in our friendships.
Precisely. So let's describe the 4 attachment styles. I want to start with secure. The ultimate goal is to be the secure attachment. That's the person in your life that's super chill, consistent, can handle closeness without getting weird or pulling away or being too clingy. Securely attached individuals are comfortable with intimacy and independence. They're trusting of others while maintaining healthy boundaries in their relationships. So a great example of a secure attachment style through the lens of TV is Pam Beesly from The Office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say later seasons Pam Beesly.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
For sure, because we saw some insecurities from her in the first few seasons. That's the only reason to explain why she would be with Roy for so long. But as she goes to art school, as she evolves, gets engaged and married to Jim, definitely will agree. Secure, attached, all the way. She's just a really dependable friend. She seems really emotionally steady and just has good communication styles with the people in her life.
My husband, Seth, is a secure attachment.
Mm-hmm.
And being in a relationship with him for 4.5 years at this point has made me feel more secure, at least in our relationship. Like I said earlier, your attachment style can change based on your relationship with that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am the most secure in my relationship with him, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
To know what that feels like, even if you can't feel it all the time.
Right.
It's nice.
It is, yeah. And being secure attached is the goal, right? You want to be able to get to a point where you can handle closeness, you can establish boundaries, you can feel emotionally regulated.
Right. And then you have the 3 other attachment styles, which all fall under the umbrella of insecure attachment. So they all have different meanings, but they're all considered insecure attachment styles. The first insecure attachment style is my personal
brand.
The anxious attachment. This is someone that craves closeness. They're hyper-aware of friendship dynamics. The anxiously attached individuals often fear abandonment and seek constant reassurance, leading to heightened sensitivity to relationship dynamics and a strong need for closeness. The core wound here, every insecurity has a core wound, is abandonment. And that has always been my biggest fear. And that is why I take friendships so seriously. My friendships mean so much to me, but I'm also terrified to lose those relationships. And so it's been a real struggle throughout my adulthood, is like finding the balance, because the anxious attachment style, like there's a lot of positives to that, because the way I nurture my relationships is in a way that other people don't. And it can be undervalued, it can be taken advantage of, but when I know how to use it properly with a secure attachment, then it's a superpower.
Yeah, and these are not deficiencies. It's just how you give and perceive love, right? So that is always going to evolve over time. And you are correct. Like, you're more aware of interactions, micro expressions as an anxious attached, right? You can see someone pull away quicker than other people might perceive it. Or you can, sense a tonal shift a little bit more astute than, somebody else.
Even through text,
which is the worst. So yeah, you're able to provide people with a lot of affection and attention, but it's at the detriment of how you are feeling.
Yeah. The anxious attachment, especially, like, it's really difficult to put ourselves first. And that's been one of my biggest hurdles.
So what does anxious attached look like in pop culture? Well, if you've ever seen the show New Girl, Jess Day is a good example of an anxious attached girly. She over-apologizes, over-commits, and seeks validation, especially in her female friendships, specifically with Cece, and even her roommate crew of all guys. She can melt down when there's a disconnection or miscommunication, and she is very tuned in to others' moods. Sound like you?
It does. And that's why I love that show, because I see a lot of myself in her, especially when people like reject her in some way. And she's like, oh no, like now I have to wear you down until you become my best friend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's funny that she says it out loud. She's just aware of like, that's how she is. And I feel like I'm at that point too. Just like, oh, now I have to make you like me because I feel like you don't like me.
Yeah. And I have related to that state of mind. And I still think I have some of those tendencies of trying to overcompensate. I'm a big fawner. That's my trauma response, is I typically will fawn, which is why I can't answer the door to solicitors. I don't want to upset. I don't want to disappoint anybody. So I, for a while, thought that I was anxious attached. But maybe as I've gotten older and just endured more trauma, I now believe that I am avoidant attached, which is the second insecure attached style. These are individuals that tend to value independence over closeness, often suppressing emotional needs and distancing themselves in relationships to avoid vulnerability. So I feel like I balance myself between these two styles, but it's really the core wound that I identify with way more as an avoidant, which is feeling like you are defective or that you're just a shameful person, which is like very vulnerable for me to admit. But Robin and I were talking about this before we started recording. I've never been the girlfriend that gets jealous of other women, or even like in early stages of dating when they're talking to other people, how most women start to spiral and start to feel jealous. For me, I'm always like, oh, they're probably better than me. Like I just immediately succumb to like, yep, that tracks. Yep, that's obviously a much better person for them. And I'm never going to be that. So I'm just going to throw in the towel now. Like I just immediately assume that it is my fault and not that they are so stupid they should have chosen me. I'm like, no, you've made the right choice, actually. That's the better choice.
Oof.
I know. I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it.
And they say one of the most common romantic relationship combinations is the avoidant and the anxious attachment.
Mm-hmm.
The give and take, the push and pull, it's a toxic cycle.
And one that I have been in.
Yes, same. In fact, I've actually been in a relationship where my partner was also anxiously attached, and they were so anxiously attached that I became the secure one in the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so we'll talk about how your attachment style can change depending on the situation that you're in. But yes, Robin, I have been in that exact same situation. I was in what I would call a problematic at best relationship, maybe toxic at worst, where I had to become the secure attached person because this person was so anxiously attached. I would almost even say that they were the final kind of attachment style, which we'll get into later. But it was just push and pull. It was highs and lows. And I just was kind of forced to be the steady Eddie, even though I was in no mental position to be that person for that partner. So it's really easy to find yourself being attracted to a very different attachment style or becoming a new attachment style if you come to that relationship with the same style.
Okay, so now you guys have learned a little bit more about how Deborah and I are different because a lot of times we are the same.
Mm-hmm.
But this is actually very insightful because you just learned something new about yourself.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because you and I are definitely not the same when it comes to like attachment.
No.
So I find this really interesting. And to reference pop culture, our favorite avoidant on TV is Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec.
Mm-hmm.
He has strong boundaries. He avoids emotional closeness. He's deeply uncomfortable with any display of vulnerability, even in his platonic relationships. And his connection with Leslie grows only after years of earned trust because she wore him down.
Mm-hmm.
And what it comes down to really is trust. It is that earned trust. And that's really important with attachment styles, like any of them. In order to be productive in a relationship is to have mutual trust. And then you can't break that trust.
Right. And it's funny when you say Ron Swanson, because I think a lot of people who are just like familiar with that show from a high level would assume that he's more secure attached because he doesn't display a lot of emotion, but that's not really what it's about. It's the fact that he doesn't know how to form those emotional bonds because he is afraid of getting too close. And I'm going to go ahead and blame that on Tammy, number one, his first ex-wife, the older one that probably groomed him.
I mean, really, you blame the parents.
You blame the parents.
And then you blame the partners after that because
Yeah,
she totally
that's true.
groomed him. Absolutely.
She groomed him big time.
Yeah.
Go back and watch it if you don't know what we're talking about. But yeah, so I think Ron Swanson is a great example of that because you can almost see the stiff arm in front of him when someone wants to give him a hug or invite him to anything or just learn about him on a personal level.
Well, just the way he always closes the door. You stay on that side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so our last attachment style. This one is called disorganized or fearful avoidance. This is a little bit of everything of the insecure attachments. It's a push-pull, chaotic, but self-protective kind of attachment style. The fearful avoidant individual, they crave connection, but they also fear intimacy. So this leads to conflicting behaviors where they both seek and resist closeness due to a deep fear of rejection and mistrust. So this is a very chaotic personality type because depending on the scenario is how they're going to react. Like they want to be included, but they don't want any pressure to like commit to that inclusion.
Yeah, this is a self-saboteur. This is someone who repeatedly puts themselves in the same cycles of pining for someone, getting them, pushing them away, and then pining for them because they have pushed that person away.
Yes.
That is the cycle.
The core wound for this one is betrayal and abandonment.
Oof. That's a toxic cocktail right there. That'll fuck you up.
Yeah, like they don't know who to trust or how to trust.
Yeah.
I think they struggle to trust themselves, which is probably why it's so difficult to commit to anything. They don't trust their own decision making.
Yeah. And how can they when they can look back at every time where they thought they were trusting the right person and then that relationship didn't work out, even though they are the reason that that relationship didn't work out. And when they realize that they are the reason, then that makes them not trust themselves and they're just stuck in this cycle over and over again.
And we have a pop culture reference.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to lay it on us, Debbie?
It's one of my favorite characters ever written, and that is Marnie Michaels from Girls, played by Allison Williams. And I love this character because she is so chaotic in a different way that the other girls are. And I think the perfect relationship to reference is her very short-term marriage to Desi, the musician. Because when she met Desi, he was in a relationship, and she knew he was in a relationship, and she still pursued him anyway. And they had an affair, and then he took the only money he had to propose to her, and they were not at all emotionally, financially, anything ready to be married. And they got married, and she immediately starts pulling away and shutting him out, and they get divorced very shortly after. And then I think they continue having an affair when they're both with other partners again. At least she is dating Ray. And so it's just this cycle that keeps going. And it's really not until the end of the series that we see Marnie come to terms with the fact that she is the problem and that she needs to work shit out on her own and not align herself with these really dysfunctional relationship cycles.
Yeah, what I saw was that she constantly tried to control how others perceived her, but then would melt down when things weren't perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She wanted so badly for things to be perfect, and I never saw anything be perfect for her.
No, not a thing. She had like 2 episodes in the beginning where she was the put together one when she was working at an art gallery and wearing like Ann Taylor every single day. And that was it. Then the facade was off and we could see just this crazy cycle unfold throughout the entire series.
So what's like a group chat scenario with your friends where all of these attachment styles might show themselves?
Yeah, and you can all look around your group chats and your group friends and see if this type of scenario rings true. So let's say 4 friends are planning a weekend trip. We've got Alex, who's the secure attached, and she's calm, communicative, helps coordinate without stress, right? The steady Eddie. Then there's Bree, the anxious attached, constantly checking the group chat, worries about being left out, needs reassurance. This is the one that is trying to suss out, are other people making plans without me? Does this person actually want a room with me? Am I being annoying? Did I text too much? Like overanalyzing the whole situation. Cam, the avoidant one, stays vague, resists committing, distances themselves when the group chat gets too emotionally close. So if people are all engaging, Cam is probably the one that's like not really texting anymore. And Bree is wondering if Cam is mad at her because Cam is not responding in a timely manner. And then we have Dev, the disorganized, fearful avoidant, who is hot and cold, excited one minute and then backing out the next, overwhelmed by both wanting connection and fearing rejection. And Dev is probably the one that is crying on the trip and you don't really know why. And then maybe they're gone for the day, but then come back with like presents for everybody because they feel bad for throwing a tantrum on the girls' trip.
Yeah.
Sounds like a terrible time to me, but hopefully they had fun.
And, you know, these can be extremes, but like, I'm sure those who are listening, there's some names popping up in their head from these group chats. Like, oh, yeah, so-and-so is totally that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to repeat this again. Attachment styles aren't fixed identities. They are adaptive strategies, and we adapt based on the environment that we are in.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said about Bree in this scenario, if Cam is not replying, then the anxiousness is going to kick in.
Yeah.
Whereas if I take this out of context in a real scenario with our Classy Ladies group chat, I know so much about all of you that I have learned that it is not personal, and that if Melissa doesn't reply for 5 days, it's not because she's mad at any of us. It's because she has a very busy life.
Mm-hmm.
And she's terrible about replying to texts because she has severe ADHD.
Right. Yes. Versus if I was anxious attached, I would say Robin, when you stop texting in a group chat, I'm like, uh-oh, something's up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. If an anxious person stops replying, they're probably hurt in some way.
So you can kind of see, and then I become the anxious attached person.
So true.
I'm like, oh no, what happened? What did we do wrong? I'll probably text you on the side like, hey, are you good? Because now I'm hyper aware of the shift in dynamics, and that's where the part of me that like wants to feel that closeness comes in. So sometimes you adjust based on who you're around or to accommodate other people.
So if you're secure in one friendship but spiral in another, congrats, you're human. Context matters, and the closer you are to people, the easier it is to have that context. And that's what we want to talk about, is when those styles collide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your friends with different styles can connect and clash.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's no way that you are surrounded by people who only have the same attachment style as you, and there's no way all of your friends are secure attached. So let's break down some of these combos that may exist so we can examine where there's potential for it to clash and what you can do to make sure that you are not just living in a spiral all the time. So a common one I would say would be anxious and avoidant. So your anxious friend and your avoidant friend. Your anxious friend is going to say something along the lines of, why didn't you text me back? Right? They are the one that are very aware how long it was that they sent a message, or maybe even they sent you something on social media and they can see that you saw it, but you haven't replied back yet. Whereas the avoidant friend isn't really being hyper vigilant around their communication, and they don't necessarily feel that urge to always be available because they're driven by needing space. So the argument's going to be like, you didn't text me back. And the avoidant is going to be like, I need space because you are smothering me and you're asking too much of me. And that's going to make the anxious friend feel insecure about how they are navigating that friendship. It might even give them pause to be the first to reach out the next time they hang out, because they're going to keep that in their pocket. Well, Sarah just said she needs space, so I'm going to give her space. And if she wants to see me, then she can message me. And Sarah is perfectly comfortable living on an island in the times that she needs to live on an island. When she's ready to come out of that, she's going to feel, where is everybody? Nobody loves me. I'm so unlovable. None of my friends even reach out to me anymore. And this is like these are all extreme circumstances, obviously, but that can be a little bit about how that dynamic can play out.
Yeah. And especially in my 20s, like, you nailed it. Those are actual conversations that I've had through text and with myself. And for the anxious friend, some advice I would give is, when you're sending a text, don't expect a reply. And even say that if you are concerned about, like, if you know that friend is avoidant, just be like, hey, no pressure on getting back.
Mm-hmm.
Or, think something else we've said, no wrong answer.
Yep.
And then you ask the question, and just when they reply, they'll reply when they want to reply. And another scenario that I practice is, if I want to include the avoidant friend in some kind of activity, but I don't want them to feel smothered or forced into it, I'm just like, hey, we're doing this today, this time. Come if you want. We'd love to see you. And just leave it open-ended.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have found that to be really successful for avoidant attachment styles. How do you feel about that as an avoidant?
Yeah, I think that is a good way of putting it. It's a little bit less pressure. And it's funny because while that works for your avoidant friend, leaving it open-ended for the anxious friend does not work. So they don't want to hear, yeah, we're having people over if you want to come. They want to hear, we're having people over. We'd love for you to come. Right? So it is funny about how that one sentence hits differently with two totally different styles of attachment.
So true. But also, as the anxious person saying it, like, hopefully over time, you begin to learn that, like, as a receiver of that same invite, there's no hidden meaning behind it.
Right.
And I think that's something that I personally have struggled with, is like looking for the hidden meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not there.
Right. Sometimes it really is what it is.
Until it isn't, and that's when you go crazy.
Right.
But we won't get into that.
We won't get into that.
That's what we call a toxic friendship, and you need to address some other issues there.
Right. This is why I love the Taylor Swift line. So tell me everything is not about me, but what if it is?
Yes, and I think about that all the time.
Yes, but what if it is? And yeah, that is anxious attached to a T.
Yeah. Let's talk about what happens when two people with disorganized attachment come together. This combo can feel electric at first, like you've found someone who gets you instantly. The intensity can be intoxicating, and because both people are craving connection but also fearing it, the relationship might move fast and feel deep. But that's where the danger lies. You've got to be careful with this dynamic.
You got to be careful because it's really easy to trauma bond if you both have disorganized attachment styles because you might be confusing closeness with codependence.
This is a great example because I do remember feeling the desire to have that kind of bond with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for that best friend forever. And you're looking at it through the wrong lens, though, because you can create a trauma bond. It can be very toxic, and you create these toxic cycles within the relationship, and you become very codependent on each other, which is not good. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, and especially for friends, too, because there are not necessarily black and white lines in friendship. It's easier to spot in a romantic relationship dynamic because now we know to call that love bombing, right? When you have somebody that comes on so strong and they make you the center of their world and you are their everything, I'm not going to lie, it feels pretty good, okay? As someone that has been love bombed before, let me tell you, it felt pretty good at the time. I didn't mind it until it became a very problematic dynamic, But when you're friends with someone, it's harder to break up with a friend.
Yeah.
Right? You don't necessarily have those black and white boundaries of what are we? You're never going to have the what are we talk with a friend, right? So I think understanding that you can be too overly emotional reliant or be maybe tapping into some abandonment issues in a friendship is important so you can figure out how to maintain that person in your life or figure out that maybe they're not the best person to have around.
Exactly. And this is a great opportunity to discuss the secure attachment style. Because if you find a securely attached friend in your teens and early 20s, it could be a stabilizer for you, but it could also be unintentionally triggering because of how unhealthy your attachment style is. It's why are you so chill about this?
Right. Yeah. And this is exactly why I think people, when you're an anxious attached or maybe avoidant attached and you become either friends with the secure attached or enter a relationship, that calmness can feel boring because you're used to the chaos.
Yes. Yes. And through platonic friendships and romantic relationships, it does present itself as boring because you're used to chaos. That's so true. Especially I grew up in a very chaotic environment. So to be married to someone who's just so blasé all the time, yeah, I'm used to it now. But at first it was I feel like we're supposed to be fighting more or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And if you look at that through the friendship lens, you might find more reasons to fight with a friend than a romantic partner. What do you think?
No, I think you're totally right. And I think a reason that you do want to learn how to embrace and hopefully learn from your secure attached friend is it can change the neuroplasticity in your brain. Okay. Because at first it might feel boring. It might feel boring that they don't take the rage bait, that they're not coddling you when you have a breakdown, that they're being more of an active listener and not necessarily giving you the fodder to maybe be in a conflict, which could be your norm.
Yeah, get angry with me.
Right, exactly. Or even worse, you're pissed at another friend, so you consult the secure attached friend to get in there with the bitch fest, and they're like, well, have you thought about this totally logical thing?
I can see both sides.
You're like, I'm not here for fucking logic, ma'am. I'm here for you to get in the trenches of this warfare with me.
Exactly.
And so you might not want to engage them as much because you're used to that like gossipy trauma-based friend. But if you're around the secure, attached friend long enough and you really start to adapt to how they communicate, how they see the situation, how they handle stress and chaos, you are going to change the neuroplasticity in your brain. It's no longer going to be seeking these highs and these lows. It's going to become more stabilized over time. So that not only is going to help strengthen your relationship with that friend, but it's also going to help inform you of what you should look like in a romantic partner.
Exactly.
Because you're going to have way more exposure to the friend than you are trying to figure that out in real time in a romantic relationship.
Yes. And I would also add, over time with a secure attached friend, you're going to find that they're actually the most reliable friend.
Mm-hmm.
They will always show up for you. They always have a listening ear. Like, you'll come to find that they're your go-to friend.
Right.
Because these other personality types, sometimes they don't have the capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Secure attachment, like even if they don't have the capacity in that moment, they will communicate that. They'll let you know when they are available. It becomes a very healthy and symbiotic friendship.
Yeah.
And you're able to be more vulnerable with that person. You build trust faster with a secure attachment.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because you realize I keep pushing this personal. If you're me, right, you might be pushing someone away. And when they show you over and over again that they're not going anywhere, you can finally start to realize like, okay, I need to trust.
Seth actually used to say that to me. I'm not going anywhere.
So secure.
And I didn't know how much I needed to hear that until he said it. And you're just like, oh, a weight just lifted.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
It's really cool. And I think it's important to say that to your friends too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going anywhere. Like, you know that about me.
Right.
And our friendship. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And that is so valuable.
Yeah. Everybody needs to hear that.
So true. Aww.
So understanding where your attachment styles are is a great baseline for knowing how to handle conflict. I was almost going to say avoid conflict, but sometimes you shouldn't avoid conflict. You should handle conflict, move through it. So that way, if you're in a situation where your friend doesn't text you back for days, even though your brain is saying, oh, they hate me, we're just obviously not friends anymore, you can start to exercise better muscles so that your nervous system isn't always going berserk in those situations.
Right. So how do you repair or reconnect after conflict based on your style? How you repair or reconnect after conflict, it often depends on your attachment style. So secure individuals tend to communicate openly and seek resolution. Don't they just sound great? They sound so great.
Yeah, like who are these fucking secure people and all their secureness?
Anxious types may pursue reassurance and fear abandonment. Avoidant people might withdraw or downplay the issue to protect themselves. And fearful avoidant individuals often struggle with wanting closeness but fearing vulnerability, which leads to mixed signals.
Let's go over some tips and tools to create secure friendships, even if your attachment style isn't secure. So knowing all the different ways that we can manifest and behave under these attachment styles. Let's start with talking about how to self-regulate and not project old wounds onto your friends.
The first thing I would say is check the story that you're telling yourself. So ask yourself, is this about them or about something old? Anxious attachment might say something like they're pulling away when really they're just overwhelmed, which I have come to find that is almost always the reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the awful revelation that nobody is thinking about you. And that's a good thing and a bad thing.
As much as you think they are. Yeah.
As much as you think they are. So when they're not texting you back, is it really because you may have said something a little stupid 2 weeks ago at a party? Or maybe they are slammed at work, are in a fight with their partner, they're dealing with things with their kids. Like, remove yourself from the scenario and try to take a higher level view as to what's going on in their life.
Exactly. Another thing is just pause before you react. Give yourself a night's sleep before you send that text. Journal about it, go for a walk, make a voice note, talk to a friend you do trust about it who's like not involved. Just give it time.
Yeah. You know who else you can talk to?
Who? ChatGPT?
ChatGPT. And honestly, this is a really great exercise. You can say, I am anxious attached. I am in a conflict right now with my friend who's a little avoidant. This is what
Yes.
I'm feeling. Knowing that they're avoidant, how do you think I should construct this message? Or why do you think I'm in the right? Or why do you think I'm in the wrong? Just let the computer overlords tell you how to feel.
Dude, that is some great freaking advice. You nailed it.
Thank you. But I do also like the other, if you are shy about, using chat as your therapist, and there's many reasons why you should not solely rely on ChatGPT as a therapist.
Totally.
I love the idea of a voice note where you can actually hear yourself say everything that you want to say, or even just writing the big email where you really just raw emotion, let it all out unedited. I would recommend not actually writing it in an email box. I would use like a notes app so that way you don't accidentally send it to anybody.
Yeah.
But that can be a really good way to examine how you're actually feeling, sleep on it, read it the next day, and figure out like, okay, am I still in that mental state, or are my insecure attachment styles really just taking the wheel?
Exactly. And I would say as an anxious attachment, it's the hardest thing to do is to wait, because you want to know, are they mad at me? Why? How can I fix it?
Yeah.
I get it. But you are not doing yourself any favors by pushing when that person's not ready to be pushed, when you're not saying the right thing, you're not understanding their perspective. It can't just be about you, how you're thinking, how you're feeling.
Yeah.
You need to be able to name that feeling within yourself. This feels like rejection, but I know it's probably just disconnection. And that gap in interpretation, that's the growth zone. That's where you can start to change your friendship dynamics, is naming that feeling within yourself and understanding like how you're being triggered, why it's triggering you, and whether or not it's actually the friend at all.
Yeah. It's hard because when you're anxious attached, you get dopamine from feeling bad. Okay? Because that's your normal. That's the edge of your neuroplasticity. So those feelings of insecurities, those feelings of not being good enough, that fear of abandonment is an extreme in your brain. And sometimes your brain is like, I am familiar with this feeling, and so I want to go there. Like I want my brain to stretch in this direction, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you just got to eat the whole bowl of candy before you're sick of it, right? So sometimes giving yourself 24 hours without doing anything, but only letting yourself feel that extreme feeling. The next day, you're going to be so sick of yourself of feeling that you might be able to revisit the situation with, clear eyes. This is why I love bawling my eyes out.
Yeah.
This is why sometimes you just got to listen to the sad songs, bawl your eyes out, go all the way through it, where your brain is like, I'm kind of sick of eating this candy. Let's eat something else.
Yeah.
Love
that.
Yeah. I don't know if that's great advice or manic advice, but I don't know. Let us know if it works for you guys.
I mean, it falls under pause before reacting.
It sure does. Yeah. Just give it a break. Don't interact with another human when you are at that level, right? Wait until the tide settles and really take an honest look at the situation before you do anything.
And if it's a situation where you do need to say something back to the friend, just say, okay, I hear you. I'm going to take a day to think about my feelings and I'll get back to you. We'll talk about this later. Like, it's okay to ask for space. Just communicate that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, what are some ways that we can practice secure behavior even if you're not naturally secure? And I think this is where your friendship roles shine, because this really is where you get to practice in a relatively safe space with people that you hopefully trust. And you get to learn so much more about yourself and communication dynamics inside this friendship group before you start dating. So you'll learn more about romantic relationships and what you're looking for in a partner just by how you practice secure behaviors within your friendships.
Yeah, we want what's familiar. So if what is familiar is the behaviors of your secure friend, you're going to eventually start to seek, not only you're going to seek those behaviors out in another person, but you're likely to start replicating them. So use that secure friend as a model, right? Before you send the rage text, think, how would secure Sally do it? They would probably text calmly.
Secure Sally. I like that.
Respect people's boundaries. Don't always let yourself assume the worst. And slowly, if you start, fake it till you make it is a very real thing. Sometimes you just got to go through the motions, and then your brain is like, I guess this is how we think now, and things will start to fall into place.
Exactly. Another thing you can do, and I do this often, is normalize mutual check-ins. Instead of spiraling silently where no one can hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
By the way, text whoever, hey, I'm just checking in. Is everything good between us? It can be that simple. Or you can keep it even more vague. Like, hey, how's it going? Miss you.
Yeah, thinking of you.
Thinking of you.
I love a good thinking of you. Hey, you crossed my mind earlier today. I just wanted to see how you've been, right? Because what's funny is now I sometimes think that I'm anxious attached, but right now in this moment in my life, I'm avoidant. When I was anxious attached, if you texted me and said, hey, is everything good between us? I would start to think, well, why wouldn't it be good between us? What do you know that I don't know? Why did you ask me that? Was someone talking about me? Does everyone think I'm going crazy? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it is the way that you word that check-in could vary depending on who you're sending it to, right?
Yeah.
Like, haven't seen you in a while. What's going on, stranger? The avoidant attached doesn't really want to be called out for isolating themselves. They don't want to hear the hey, stranger, long time no see, right? But hey, I was thinking about you today. Hope all is well. That works just great, And
I would say that works really well for the disorganized attachment as well.
Yeah. Or even for the disorganized attached, or AKA fearful avoidant, it's also known as. Maybe recalling a funny memory of a time when you were close to anchor them back to that space in time, right?
Yes.
Hey, just watched the new Naked Gun movie. Made me think of, when we watched it in high school. Miss you, right? That's a good point of entry for that fearful avoidant because you're reminding them of a safe place and time. It's not putting pressure on them to respond. It's not shaming them for not being around. It's just kind of enticing them with the right carrot.
Yeah. It's evidence of how wonderful your friendship is.
Exactly. Giving them evidence.
I love that. Yeah. And that brings us to another one of our practices is building microtrust. So showing up when you say you will, keeping small promises, not ghosting when things get hard, and saying you need space instead, which I just touched on a few minutes ago. But, sending those positive memories to a friend is like, hey, I'm just thinking about the good times and I want you to know that I love you and that I'm here. You're saying it without saying it.
Right. So another way you can practice these secure behaviors is by reframing the conflict, right? So every relationship is going to have conflict. You're never just going to be sunshine and roses. And if you are, it might not be that deep of a friendship. But it's not proof that your friendship is broken. It's proof that the friendship is real. So having a disagreement, overcoming those things, not being on the same page, that is reality. Those are adults interacting. And working through that is proof that you are really forging the bonds of your friendship.
Yes, it proves that you're both invested in the relationship, and it's only going to make your friendship stronger. You're only going to understand each other more. It creates a level of vulnerability that you may not have had before. Like, it's a lot of positive things. Of course, you don't want to be in conflict with your friends, but it's going to happen, and it's about how both of you handle it that's going to affect the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, I've had several instances, some within the past year, where a conflict with a friend has served to bring us so much closer, and it gave us the opportunity to really kind of shed light on how deeply we care for each other. So it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you really just have to purge yourself of the negative feelings through conflict so that way you can rebuild into something stronger.
Yes. Mm. So well
Hmm.
said.
Now, there's connection and then there's closeness, but there are different kinds of closeness. And you really want to make sure that you know the difference between a healthy closeness and an emotional enmeshment.
And we talked a little bit about this earlier when we talked about trauma bonding.
Yeah.
Like with enmeshment, you can absorb each other's moods like sponges.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And I just imagine the Tasmanian devil in my head.
yeah, or just like there are just some people that have a really large psychological size. And when their mood is low, they just suck the air out of the room. And if you are an anxious attached person, your energy is getting sucked out of the room right along with them. And that is enmeshment if you're at that level of closeness where you can look across a room, see someone's expression, and now all of a sudden their problem is your problem. Like that's not healthy closeness.
Nailed it. And that's exhausting to be around.
It is. And I've been in that situation so many times. And it is so hard because you feel responsible for their happiness. And you're not. Because what you're doing is you're setting aside your own emotional caretaking. You're not like allowing yourself the full happiness of that moment. You're worried if they're doing
Yes.
okay. And it's the worst feeling.
You can be prone to feeling responsible for their happiness, or like you're their emotional caretaker, which I have been that in a romantic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so unhealthy. It's so unhealthy.
Yes, it is.
So what is some healthy closeness?
Yeah, I think where you want to be is where you can be honest without the fear of abandonment. You can tell somebody how you're honestly feeling about them without worrying that what you are going to say will be the end of your relationship. I would say another would be, you both have your own lives, but you can cheer each other on. So you don't necessarily have to feel disconnected with a friend just because you're no longer doing everything together.
Right.
You can get to a point where you have your own life and you're happy for what they're doing and vice versa.
And that's one of my favorite things about our group chat is that we're always each other's cheerleader.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like we may have some unhealthy enmeshment here and there, but that was definitely a healthy aspect of our closeness as a friend group of, almost 20 years.
Yeah, because just as important as closeness is space. And I think the most secure friendships are the ones where you can have sometimes long periods of silence, whether that is you haven't heard from them or you can hang out without feeling anxious when there is a lapse in conversation. The best kind of relationships are the ones where you can be in the same room without interacting with each other and not feel responsible for what the other person is doing.
Yes. And with certain people, that can be very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good litmus test of like sit in a room with another person and don't talk to them and see how comfortable you are.
Yeah. And you can always get more comfortable, right?
Absolutely.
Like that's not going to happen in early stages. But if you're with someone for years and you don't feel like you can just lounge on the couch and be together but apart because you're on your phones, then you probably need to get to a healthier state of psychological closeness.
Yeah.
Robin, where can someone learn their attachment style?
That's a great question. There is a book called Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel S.F. Hewler. I've read that. There's plenty of podcast episodes out there where they touch on attachment styles. One that stands out to me is Mel Robbins from her podcast. There are some tests you can take online too, but a lot of them require some form of payment. So I wouldn't exactly recommend that route. but it is out there.
Yeah. So learn your attachment style, take some free online questionnaires, and we would love to hear, how do you see these attachment styles play out in your friendships? Have you had to end a relationship with someone who is a fearful avoidant? Are you the anxious one in your group chat? Or are you sick of carrying the emotional labor as the only secure attached person in your group of friends? So
Yeah.
let us know. Email us at artofclassiness@gmail.com, and we'd love to hear more. Okay, let's move on to our next segment, our class act of the week. This is where Robin and I take turns highlighting people, events, or sometimes parasocial relationships that really just seemed so classy we had to talk about it. So Robin, what is your class act of the week?
So today, mine is not a person, it's a place.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, places bring as much joy as a person can, you know?
Oh, hell yeah.
Living here in Bend, Oregon has felt like a giant exhale for me. Like, we have just fallen in love with this place. I know I've said it multiple times, but I honestly can't get over it. Like, Seth on Wednesdays goes to this spike ball meetup. So me and Penny went with him yesterday, and I just laid out a picnic blanket in the shade under a tree, and I just like laid there and stared at the sky. And it has been so healing for me. I was like, oh wow, I just learned that I like hanging out at parks, which I never did in Austin.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just the way they prioritize parks and trails and the river walks around here. Like, there's amazing mountain views. There's just something about Bend that feels like it's giving you permission to slow down and just enjoy your life.
Oh.
And we've been spending so much more time outside, picnics, hikes, watching the sunset, like everything. It's like the city itself encourages you to be present. Like, we witness people every day just existing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I find it to be very like calming. So anyway, Bend, you have been a healing space for me and Seth, and you're this week's class act. Thanks for existing.
I love that. And I've only been to Bend once, and it is such a lovely, lovely town. It's so cute, and it's warm and friendly. And you're right, everybody just is like living their life outside. And I am so happy for you guys that it's been such a fun and healing experience for you.
Thanks.
Perfect. Okay, well, let's finish strong with our favorite segment, class or crass. I'm going to give you a scenario, and you're going to decide, is it classy or is it crassy? So this is a good one for today's episode. Might sound familiar. A friend leaves you on red for 3 days, so you confront them in a massive paragraph text. Is it classy to be that honest with your communication, or is it crass to emotionally dump on an unsuspecting pal?
That's crass. Because depending on the person's attachment style, they can take that as an attack, and they will not respond well, if they respond at all.
Right.
They will get defensive.
And well, first of all, let's acknowledge we've all done this.
Oh, absolutely.
I have done this. It is so embarrassing when you send it, and then you read it the next day. You're like, oh my God, that was so out of line. And the worst is like you send that kind of message and someone's like, sorry, I've been out of town because my grandma died. And you're like, well, I'm an asshole.
Yep.
I made something about me that was not about me.
Yep.
And yeah, I've definitely done that before. And when you do that, you're just assuming so many things.
Yep.
You're assuming so many things. Like, you're assuming that their phone is not broken, or that they don't have a personal life, or that it's again, that's like you're making everything about you when it's not, right? So
yes,
I tend to agree with you. I think it is crass to rage text someone if they're not paying attention to you, because that's really what it is.
And this takes us back to one of those examples of like when you're trying to reconnect with a friend or check in or just figure out what's going on, like send something light. Gauge where they're at. Like, hey, I texted you a few days ago. I noticed you haven't gotten back. Is everything okay?
Right.
Give them the opportunity to tell you what's wrong before you tell them what's wrong. You're making assumptions that aren't there.
Right. And it's an asshole move because you're assuming the worst out of someone that you should trust.
Yeah.
Right. If it's a friend, like you're assuming that they're intentionally hurting you and all of a sudden they've become a mean and careless person just because you're not getting enough attention.
Exactly.
Yeah. Either write it in a notes app, record yourself saying it so you can hear how fucking crazy you sound. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just have to hear how crazy you sound.
And sometimes you just got to blurt it out somewhere, like just get it off your chest. Like it's okay for you to have those feelings. It's okay for you to think those things. It doesn't make them true.
Right. Yeah. Just because you're reading yourself the same story doesn't mean it is nonfiction. Okay. So you have got to, sometimes you just got to get it all out, read it, check yourself.
Before you wreck yourself.
Before you wreck yourself and this friendship, right? So yeah, we've given some other tools of things you can say instead of the rage text, just saying, hey, everything okay? ? That's fine. That's all you need for now,
Yeah. And if they still don't get back to you, your question might be, well, what do I do then?
And it sounds like not much because you've done what you've needed to do, right? If you have sent the follow-up and there's no response, then your obligation in that interaction is over. It's over.
That's a really good point. And they'll get back to you when they can.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, you still don't know what's going on.
Yeah. So say that they do get back to you and you do find out that you did something wrong or that they are mad and they're processing something, right? Now you can open up and have a conversation about it where once you clear the air, you can tell them, hey, next time, just let me know if you need a few days because this was made worse in my head from not hearing from you. When I don't hear from you, I feel abandoned. So
yeah,
I get that we have things to work out, but I want you to feel comfortable enough to let me know in the moment. I need some space. And just knowing that from you is going to make it easier for us to resolve this conflict.
Yeah. Well said. So there you have it. We gave a scenario, we gave an alternate scenario, and then we gave a third scenario of how to handle this situation with your friends. I think it's important to always lead with love.
Lead with love and assume the best in your friends. Don't assume the worst. That's what your enemies are for, not for your friends.
Exactly.
Don't send the trauma dump text. It's crass.
Don't do it.
All right, so there you have it. Whether you're the friend who spirals over unanswered texts or the one who needs a little too much space, your attachment style might be shaping more than you think.
And the good news is, it's never too late to heal, grow, and show up better for your people. Friendship is one of the best places to practice emotional safety.
If today's episode gave you something to think about, send it to a friend or start the conversation in your group chat.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Art of Classiness or email us at artofclassiness@gmail.com to share your stories and thoughts.
Thanks for listening. And remember, classy is a state of mind.
So mind your classiness. Bye.